Hello musicians, welcome back. My name is Bucky Dirtle and I am doing another video tutorial today on a module for VCV Rack. Now today I'm doing a project. This is a module by Befaco. So this is another, I've done several Befaco modules already and they are great. I gotta say they're really good, and I also should say that they are available in hardware form. So if you actually have some gear and you want to use some of these Befaco modules, they are available for hardware, and they're really cool. Okay, so I'm going to be doing Slew limiter today. Now, the Slew limiter, I'm going to cover what a Slew limiter does, and it's something I'm sure that once you learn about it, you're going to say, "Oh, I have to have that in my music." Absolutely. So it's a really useful tool. I'm going to talk to you about how some of the controls work, the shape, how this works. Slew up and down, I'm going to show you how that works. I'm also going to talk to you about some of the CV controls, things like that. Okay, let's get started. So first thing, let's listen to some sound with the Slew limiter running. So you can probably hear that it makes portamento. The term what this does is it has different people use different terms for it. Portamento, slide, glissando. People use different terms for it. Glide and slide. I call it portamento. Now, portamento means that instead of the note just going from one note to another straight from one pitch to another like this, what portamento is, or slew as they're calling it here, you can hear it as a slight, sometimes not so slight. It slides between the notes, and so it slides between the notes. That's portamento or glide on some. Depends on the synth you use. And I find, you know, there's a synth that comes with Pro Tools, and they call it glide, I believe. Anyway, I refer to it as portamento. I've always called it that. Now. Let's talk about some of the... oh, and by the way, this makes things sound very human, because in a lot of, like in the human voice, when people are singing, there's a lot of scooping and sliding up to notes, and especially if you're doing music that's like jazz or some, you know, blues or lots of different kind of music. Some music has more portamento than others. If you're doing Mozart aria, yeah, there'd be probably none. Or Bach in Baroque period, there would be none. But in this case here, we have the ability to put it in when we need to. So with a Slew limiter, it's very, very useful. Very useful. So let's have a look at how this works and see where it takes us. Okay, first of all, let's talk about these two sliders. This slider here is the amount of portamento that's going to be applied when a note from below goes to a note above. So let me just play again. So you can hear when the notes are going down, it just drops right to the note, no problem. When the note's going upwards, it's a step upwards, it scoops into the note. So the portamento is added to it. So it slides into the note on the way up. But it doesn't on the way down, because our down is down. So if I change directions to this, let's move that one down. There, like that. Now let's push play. You hear it now that when the notes go up, there would be a scoop. It'll just jump directly to the note. And And when it goes down, there's a scoop down. So it's slide. The portamento's on the way down. Now, you can decide how much of each you want, and depending on what you're doing, you may want to have it in certain notes and not on others, and we'll talk about that in a second. So that's basically how much slide you're going to have. Now, how does the slide look? What's the shape of it? Okay, well, the shape of the slide is here with this slide shaper, slew shaper dial. So if we want it to be a linear slide, portamento up, or a linear portamento down, you would use this on the left-hand side. If you wanted more of an exponential, you would do the opposite over here. Now, I do find the exponential sounds a little more human to me, but it's everybody's own opinion. It's a bit more organic, the exponential. Now let's go down to linear. Anyway, there are uses for both. For me, it's not like I say I never use one, I always use the other. Absolutely not. But this one is nice because it gives you a morph between the two. So you might be able to move a little bit to one way, a little bit to another, and find exactly what you're looking for. Very, very cool. Very cool. So that's the shape. Now the last thing I want to speak to you about is the rise and the fall CV. Now we can control this, of course, with our LFOs. Now, when you're doing music, you're not going to want portamento on every note because it'll end up sounding sloppy. You're going to want portamento on very specific notes, and the more precise you get at your writing, at your songwriting, your melody writing, the better you're going to be at choosing which notes you want portamento to be on, and you'll be able to apply that. Now, so to do that, you could use different things. Like you can use LFOs attached to clocks, so that your LFO can be timed with the clock. You can attach your LFO to a sequencer, like a sequencer like we have here, so that the LFO will time with the sequencer, and then you'll be able to have portamento at a certain point and not at others. There's all kinds of ways of doing things like that. And so it'll rise at a certain point and fall at a certain point. The slider will rise up to a certain point when you want it to be and haul us up back down again when you don't want portamento. So you will find you could be doing this kind of thing all through your melodies, adding portamento and taking it away whenever you want it done. You could do this randomly too. It'd probably have some nice effects randomly, but if you're, depending on how precise you become with your melody writing, you may want to say, okay, on this 3 notes in a whole melody, I want portamento and nowhere else. Well, you can time it so that will happen, and you can have it so trigger it right at that point. So it's a really cool effect, very, very useful, and it's almost like the slew limiter is almost like garlic in food. Like you can use it a little and it's really good. If you use it too much, it sounds sloppy. Don't use it enough, it sounds kind of bland. So it's a great little tool. If you listen to things like Daft Punk, I'm just thinking about the song, I think it's called the Homework album. I think that was the album, The Funk. They had a really cool low analog synth pattern that happens about 2/3 of the way through the song, and it's like the crown jewel of that tune. And if you listen to it, there's a lot of really nice portamento in there. But I don't believe it's just left on. Portamento in that song is used and then not used, and used and then not used in that little part. So it might be something that's brought in and brought out as need be. So it's something you need to play with very tastefully. So there you go. That is the Slew Limiter by Befaco. Check it out. And you can also get this one in hardware, so you may want to pick it up for your rack. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed Befaco's Slew Limiter. I know I do. And be sure to use it. Connect with me in the comments of this posts as well. I'd love to hear about your music and what you're doing and all that. So be sure to connect with me. You can also get me in the Utopian.io Discord. Good luck with your music, everybody, and I will see you next time.